I think probably the hardest thing for most companies, from what I hear, is really, how to hire people. Once we have them hired, keeping them happy and everything seems to consume us. And because that is so hard, we make it really, really hard on ourselves when we're trying to hire folks, because we're trying to prevent all the mistakes that we've made in the past about who we hired and unmet expectations or unkept promises. People, what are you going to do? Let's talk about that.
Welcome to your weekly dose of uncommon sense, helpful insights, and tough love. I'm your host, Tom Stimson. The Intentional Success Podcast comes to you through the generous support of Mertz Crew.
Mertz Crew helps top AV companies book quality AV freelancers. Your choice, your rates. We handle contracts, insurance, and payments. You save time, cost, and reduce risk. Start today at mertzcrew.com.
Now on to the show.
So many of my coaching calls begin with the phrase, well, insert name here, just did this. What did they do? Well, they forgot to do something, or they did something without asking, or, they had a moment, or they had to go home early, or whatever it is. It doesn't really matter. People are hard. Gear is easy. It generally behaves. It's usually where you left it. If you take care of it, it does what it's supposed to do. And if it's finicky, you can, objectively fix it. We can't fix people. You can't do it. I have one of my tenets is that you can't change other people. You can only change yourself. And therefore, it implies that you can't fix other people. They have to fix themselves. And whether that's a deep metaphorical, existential thought, or if it's just the simple fact that people have a mind of their own, take it however you will. Trying to change other people is just a waste of time. However, changing yourself, yeah, it's still difficult, but it's doable. And you have a much higher chance of success if you work on yourself. So that's why I want to talk about people today. I want to talk about hiring people, and I want to talk about keeping people. But the big thing is that if you hire the right people, keeping them is much easier. So let's focus on the input side. Let's get people on board that we want to have on board. Now, a couple of principles I abide to here is one is I like to hire fast and fire faster. Long, plodding, contemplative methodologies for onboarding people. If you can't engage with someone and make them an offer within 10 days, you're wasting time, right? If you need to hire somebody, put the word out there, have a process for doing it, and get it done quickly. How do you know they're the right person if you don't have 5 conversations with them? Well, how does having 5 conversations tell you have the right person? I'm asking. I don't know. I think we are pretty good as human beings of identifying somebody that we would talk to a second time. And then we can create some questions and circumstances that would tell us if we'd like to talk with them again. You probably know who you want to work with. When a show crew shows up in the ballroom and there's 10 people there you've never met before, usually in the first 10 minutes, you know which people that you will be asking to help you throughout the day and which people you're going to be putting on tasks to keep them as far away from you as you possibly can. My point is, it's really not that hard. You're looking for good people. You're also looking for good people in terms of aptitude, demeanor, but how do you know what they know? And this is where a lot of folks get hung up. How do you know what they know? Well, ask them. Not everybody knows everything. And if they say they know everything, okay, that's a hard stop. They don't. Let's move on. I'm not going to hire anybody who thinks they've already learned it all. If they're not coming on board to share what they know, but are willing to learn more, what are you going to do with them? They're going to be a nightmare for you. So let's think about how we can figure out what questions can you ask. Tell me about your experience. What kind of problems have you solved? All of these things are pretty standard questions, and any, entry-level management book on interviewing people is going to give you some questions. Your job is just to shut up and listen. Now, if you find the right candidate, you're probably going to want to talk because you want to tell them more about your business because you want them to interview you. And that is part of the process. But I don't want to get down into the weeds of all this. I want you to hire fast and I want you to be able to fire faster. So what I'm going to talk about today is the 90-day plan. The 90-day plan is we have an opportunity anytime we bring a new person on board in the US at the least, not in all countries, to quickly undo all of that. So we can hire somebody on contingency in most cases and say, hey, here's what we're going to do. I want to bring you on board. We're going to do these things. We're going to check on these milestones. We're going to check in with each other. I'm going to make sure that you're doing the right thing for me. You're going to make sure I'm doing the right thing for you. And at any point in time, we feel like we made a bad choice, we can both part company and say, hey, good for us for catching it now instead of at a really bad moment down the road. So 90-day plan. So you interview somebody, you're happy with them, you place the offer, they accept, great. Now what happens? Well, you got to get them on board. You got to get them oriented. You got to get them trained, get their computer, help them learn about processes and procedures, help them understand what their job description is and who they report to and who their internal customers are. I mean, there's a lot of things that we need to do that, guess you probably don't have time for because that's why you needed to hire somebody because you're too busy. So who's going to do all of these things? Well, guess what? I'm going to hold you accountable just like your new hire is. And we're in our 90-day plan. We have 30, 60, and 90-day checkpoints. There are more checkpoints. These are the bare minimum. At 30 days, okay, the agreement that you signed with the person you just hired, you two agree, and both of you have to agree that you will sit down in 30 days and you're going to go over this checklist of items. And then at 60 days, you're going to sit down and go over a checklist of items. And at 90 days, you're going to go down that checklist of items and make the decision about whether you would hire each other again. Right? It's pretty simple. It creates avenues for open discussion, and it's an obligation. It's a promise that you make to each other to help ensure that this goes well. We're creating room for communication. And it's a two-way communication. It's not a one-way. I don't care if you're hiring a warehouse worker in their first job. You have to have this conversation. Whoever they're reporting to, whoever their hiring manager is, has to have this conversation with them. And if the hiring manager is working directly over them, then I actually need the person above them having this conversation because I need to make sure the hiring manager is doing their job. So what is their job? Right? Well, at 30 days, some things should have happened. Obviously, the onboarding stuff I just described. I want to sit down with this employee and say, here are 3 things I see in your work that I want to encourage. I'm going to give them immediate feedback. 3 things I see in your work that I want to encourage. I love the way you do this. I appreciate when you do this. I see you doing this all the time. I love that kind of stuff. Here's one thing I want you to work on. Okay. It could be a big thing, it could be a little thing, but it's only one thing. At 30 days, you can give them one thing and say, hey, I notice that you're always 5 minutes late. And I just want you to convert that to being 5 minutes early. In our industry, when we say 8 o'clock, which means we are ready to put our hands on at 8 o'clock and go to work. So if you need time to come in, get your bag down, go to the bathroom, get a cup of coffee, shake the road off, you need to come in earlier. This is not negotiable. Okay. And then I'm going to ask them, would you take this job again knowing what you know now? And then shut up. Okay. 1, encouragement is going to be good. Thank them for the things they're going to do. You might get some feedback on the one thing that they need to work on. Hopefully that's one thing that they can work on, they can understand, they can agree to, or there may be an accommodation that you two have not discussed that needs to be discussed now. So actually, there's no way I can physically get here at 5 minutes before 8. Because of my responsibilities dropping off the kids and the way carpool line works. I can only get here at 8:05. Can we figure out how to work that out? Great. I'm glad we had this conversation. We create clarity. And now I'm just going to make your start time 8:15 because I don't want you to fail by making it 8:05 and having you be 1 minute late all the time. Great. Now, would you take this job again knowing what you know now? This is where you're going to get some great feedback from this person you hired. Here's the thing. They're going to say, here are the things that I like. Okay. Here's the things that I'm looking forward to learning. Here's the things that I've gotten to do that I didn't expect to do. Or they're going to tell you, really all I've done is, clean cases for 30 days and nobody's taught me anything. I really thought I'd be learning stuff. I know a lot about a lot of ways I can help, but I'm not seeing any way to be allowed to help. That is great information to have. Okay. So this is a very, very important interview, because at this point, you may realize that you didn't want to hire this person after all. Then maybe this is the time to part ways. And the 30-60-90 plan, every time that you have an opportunity to learn more about each other, if you ever feel this was a mistake, now's the time to undo it. The sooner you undo it, the better. Hire fast, fire faster. You may sit down in 30 days and say, hey, I just want to give you some feedback. There's some things I like about what you do. There are some major problems that I'm seeing. Okay, today is your last day. Here's your final check. Here's some things that you can work on in your next job. And I wish you the best of luck, and send them on down the road, and then go try again. Okay, just because you fail doesn't mean you can't hire people. Just keep trying, right? Humans are humans. We're not going to have a 100% success rate. So keep after it. But let's assume you made a good pick. They're giving some good feedback. You're having great engagement. Our next milestone is at 60 days. And 60 days, we need to take things up to the next level, right? Sit down with the employee and say, hey, tell me what you've learned. Where do you think you fit in? Okay. Where do you see yourself being helpful in the very near future? What do you want to learn next? Okay. Are we holding you back? Okay. Are we expecting too much of you? Okay. What works best for you in these situations? So try and get deeper. They know more about you. They know how to communicate better. You need to know more about them and how to communicate better and what their working style is. So this is the conversation we're having. It's like, hey, we've all passed the initial test. I still want you to work here. You still want to work here. What's next? Right? Did we just find out that, oh, by the way, you have a master's degree in information technology, and you should really be doing all of these things over here for us instead of the stuff we hired you for? Great. Let's figure out how to do that. So we've moved along. We've improved our relationship with each other. We've dialed in their program. We're making sure that the manager is going to give them the opportunities. We're going to provide the training that they need to get to the next level. We're going to let them show us some things that they figured out that, as a new person, and I love new people for this, we've just been doing it the way we've always done it. They come in and go, hey, why don't we try it this way? So now we're getting this huge upside benefit from working with somebody. 90 days. Now, if this person's a keeper, and I'm assuming that they've made it to 90 days, they probably are. Now you do the full review that you would do for any employee annually. You can pull out the review form that you use, whatever it might be. Hopefully it's one of those concise, 5 rating point systems with some short answers. Hopefully they're going to review you. You're going to give them a form that said, give us some feedback, give me some feedback, give your manager some feedback. And do the traditional annual review. Even if it's a month from annual reviews, just do it right now, because this is the time to do it. Sticking to this 30-60-90 schedule is very important, because it has to matter. This has to matter to everybody in the company. These things, we don't postpone them. We make room for them. Now, at this meeting, you may find that you and or the worker both have higher aspirations, and let's talk about them now. Hey, I really think I need to be a project manager, and here's how I think I could get there. I know how to do a lot of the things that you're describing. Here's what I need to learn. Awesome. I don't need a project manager right now, but gosh, it sure would be great to have somebody like that. Let's start working on those things. Okay, great. Now again, 30, 60, 90, at any point in time, if either of you says, hey, this isn't right for me, the employee at 90 days may go, I love this job. I love the potential. But right now you have me working for this person, and I'm worked in the warehouse, and I'm trapped in a very narrow set of things. I can't be here much longer, right? You need to find something more valuable for me to do, or I need to go find a company where I can start at a higher level. I didn't know what it would take to do this job. We didn't know what skills you were necessarily going to bring, right? Maybe we need to move faster, or maybe we need to move slower, right? Sometimes we hire somebody who's going to be a steady worker. They're going to do great jobs. I mean, I am proud of the fact personally that people I hired to work in, quality control and show prep, warehouse responsibilities 20 years ago are still doing it. They're really, really dang good. Okay. They're well compensated. They manage large crews and they do great work, but they didn't aspire to be something else. They didn't need to be something else. They're excellent at this. So I'm proud of that. I don't want everybody that I hire to become the next senior production manager, TD superstar of the company. I want them to find what they're really good at and stay really good at it so I never have to hire that position again. So at any milestone, any opportunity, always ask yourself, would you hire them again? If the answer is no, get the exit package ready, get that last check ready, get the exit interview ready, and move on as quickly as possible. Do not wait to fill the gap. Okay, somebody that you're not happy with that you're going to let go is going to become poison. They're going to become toxic. Even if they don't know, they will feel it, and you are going to treat them differently, and your team's going to treat them differently. Just get this over with. We can all stay a little bit later and get the work done. It's not a big deal. You can outsource an extra hand if that's what you need. Now, we've passed the 90 days. Now we're dealing with the bumps in the road, and you're going to have them, right? We have misalignment of expectations. We have misalignment of goals. We don't agree with our assessments of each other. Somebody's suitability for a job. Sometimes people aspire to be something greater than what they're going to be successful at. Sometimes we want them to be greater than what they'll be successful at, and we promote them beyond their level of competency, which is on us. It's not on them. It's called the Peter Principle. Okay, we need to come back and take a look at this roadmap. So when we have unreasonable goals or advancement expectations from the employee or for the employee, we're going to have conflict. Okay? We need to touch base fairly often and make sure that we're on track. And sometimes just having an honest feedback conversation and say, I don't see that path for you here. If that's really the path you want to go, here's some things that you can start working on your spare time. And when you're ready to move on, I'll help you find the job you're looking for somewhere else. Right? I had a young man who, smart guy, very capable, good customer service, high school education, and he aspired to be a video engineer. And video engineering at that time was actually true engineering. It's, oscilloscopes. It's like, I can't even comprehend how he thought he was going to get there. And we talked about it. And I said, I don't have the means to train you internally on this, but here's what you can do outside the company. Here's courses that you can take in electronics, because you have to start with the basic electronics and you work through all these things. And, here's night schools you can go to and everything. And that was the end of that, right? He wasn't interested in being a video engineer if he had to do all the work to get there. He just wanted us to train him so he organically become one. So having conversations is going to be very important in all this. We could have had a bad situation. He ended up working for the company until he retired. That's what you're looking for. You're looking for loyal employees who find their space, that your expectations for them and their expectations are in line so that they can come to work and be successful every day. Now, fuzzy compensation plans is another way that we have bumps in the road. So misaligned expectations, unreasonable goals on either party, and fuzzy compensation plans. Let's straighten this out. Compensation should not be fuzzy. This is not that hard, right? What would you pay someone to do this job at their level if you had to hire them from scratch? Too often we get hung up on what that person is currently making and how big of a raise it would take to get them right with the job. I had a young audio person working for us. He started in the warehouse, did QC prep. He quickly proved how he was going to be a highly competent A1. He was actually a fantastic system engineer as well. But we were still paying him like a warehouse worker. And to get him right, it was actually going to require doubling his pay. And we fretted over it. And it's like, why are we fretting over this? If he didn't work for us now and he came to us with everything he knows, we'd gladly pay him this. Why are we messing around? And it's the emotion of that change. Just like, I don't know what it is about us human beings that, we resent paying people more money, even if they deserve it, based on what they've made historically. No, this is replacement cost. What are they worth now? Pay them that. And I run into this all the time. Oh, these people have been here for 30 years. So they're making maybe 2/3 of what somebody who had bounced around jobs would be making. They're worth more, and they're not getting it, and they know it, and they're unhappy. Okay. What happens when they leave and all of a sudden you're faced with paying somebody twice as much money because you're not going to get them for 30% more because you're filling a hole, right? Get your compensation sorted out. Do you have annual cost of living raises? Awesome. Great. Make sure people understand that. They know what that amount is every time you designate it. Do you make contributions to retirement or health plans? Okay. These are all compensation. Vacation days or leave days are all compensation. You need to understand what all of these things is so you can measure them and share them and talk about them. And then we can focus on base salaries or bonuses that evolve as skills are developed, aptitude is realized, value to the business. There might even be promotions, so I don't really know what a promotion in our industry is. I'm not big on titles and org charts that way, where there's a hierarchy. But if you're meeting the needs of a higher level role and we put you in that role, I should pay you for that role. However, you may be meeting the needs of that role, but I'm keeping you in the role that you're wildly successful in. Why shouldn't I be paying you more? You're doing the job better than anyone else. You're probably doing the job of 1.5 people. If I had to replace you, pay them accordingly. Now, I talk about this because at balanced companies and scalable companies, we need half the employees that we need in our old models, and they need to be twice as good. So if you have somebody who's twice as good, pay them. You don't have to pay them twice as much, but pay them 50% more, okay? Because they are twice as good, or they're doing the work of 2 or 3 people. They're preventing problems that would take several people to prevent and cause lots of pain and anguish in the process of doing it, okay? Do you know what those milestones are, okay? When you learn how to do this, when the employee masters this, if they're on track to become a project manager, production manager, TD, okay, what are the milestones? Have they mastered Vectorworks, or are they at entry-level Vectorworks? Have they mastered site surveys? Have they mastered job management? Have they mastered estimating, order scrubbing? What are the things that designate somebody as a top-level person in your company? Can we write those milestones? And it may not be in the same order for every individual, and they may get to a level with a different balance of skill sets, but we need to know what those skill sets are. And this goes across all the jobs in your organization. So once you have this pay system figured out, then it's just communicating. Well, when an employee comes to you, as they always do, say, how can I make more money? I said, well, 3 things you could do. One is you could finish all those courses I've been asking you to take that would make you better at these things. You could come spend some time learning how to use this equipment. And 2, you could probably be more consistent in your work. Let's be honest. If somebody's not being consistent in their work, adding skills is not going to make them more valuable for you. The problem is that they are inherently inconsistent. Your best employees are going to be consistent no matter what the circumstances is, but what they might become is disgruntled. And if they become consistent at their work and disgruntled and become consistently disgruntled, now you've got a huge problem. You have a highly valuable individual who, through your lack of planning, foresight, and consistency, has pay inequity, has recognition inequity, has work inequity. Something needs to be fixed, and that's why these communications are so important. So, in balanced companies, we hire for skill and aptitude, and we retain those individuals who strive to work at their highest and best use. They don't have to aspire to a higher job or a higher role in your organization. They should aspire to being better at what it is that they do, maybe broader, maybe more interchangeable in your company. Remember, balanced companies need half the employees. They need to be twice as good. So my advice is to learn how to spot talent, pay what they need to get to come to work for you, and don't waste your time determining if that was the right decision. If you made the wrong decision, cut ties as quickly as possible, thank them, and move on, right? Get better at recognizing talent so you can hire fast, you can fire faster, within the limits of the law, of course, and common sense, and always, always courtesy. We're dealing with people here. So good luck out there. Go find those better people that you deserve and help them understand how you guys can work together. Thanks for listening.
If you liked this episode of the Intentional Success Podcast, please leave a review and don't forget to like and subscribe. This podcast has been brought to you by the helpful folks at Mertz Crew.